There comes a moment in a person's life when the noise of the world begins to fade, not because the world has become quieter, but because we have risen above it. It is a silent shift, an inner ascension, a leveling up that few recognize in themselves, yet it shapes everything they touch. Those who operate on a higher level do not announce it, they embody it, and it reveals itself in 4 unmistakable signs. Sign 1. You respond slowly, not emotionally. Most people live as prisoners of the moment. A single insult bends their mood. A minor inconvenience derails their entire day. Their emotions are like dry leaves blown wildly by the wind. But we, those who walk the quieter path, learn to delay our reactions, not out of weakness, but out of mastery. Seneca wrote, "He who is the master of himself is greater than he who conquers kingdoms." This is the first sign of higher operation, emotional latency, the gap between stimulus and response. The higher mind is not rushed, it doesn't explode, it doesn't react on impulse, it observes. It lets the initial fire burn itself out before choosing a deliberate action. This is not suppression, it is sovereignty. This is not distance, it is discipline. When someone insults us, we pause. When circumstances shift, we breathe. When life tests us, we watch our own mind before we speak. This silence between emotion and action is where wisdom grows. Modern Stoic researchers call this cognitive distancing, a skill that reduces destructive emotions by training the mind to see events objectively. When we operate on a higher level, we no longer fear the chaos of life. We simply refuse to let it disturb our inner citadel. Point 2. You no longer need recognition to validate your worth. There is a moment in a man's life when he realizes that applause is a distraction, not a reward, that most praise is shallow, most validation conditional, and most recognition nothing more than a fleeting signal meant to keep him tied to the expectations of others. This realization is not loud. It doesn't arrive with fireworks or celebration. It arrives in silence, usually after life has exhausted him enough to make him look inward for the first time. This is the second sign you're operating on a higher level. You no longer require recognition to feel secure in who you are. The ordinary mind depends on the world to confirm its existence. It needs compliments to feel significant, approval to feel confident, and attention to feel alive. But we, those disciplined by stillness and adversity, begin to understand a different reality. True worth is not something people give you, it's something you cultivate in the quiet, unseen hours. Epictetus said, "If you seek the approval of others, you will become their prisoner." And those who operate at a higher level feel this truth in their bones. Recognition begins to feel like a chain, not a crown. A chain that quietly pulls us away from our path, away from our principles, away from the inner sovereignty we've spent years constructing. So we begin to move differently. We work without announcing every step. We improve without broadcasting every milestone. We grow without craving witnesses. The world calls this mysterious. But it isn't mystery, it's mastery. When a person rises to a higher psychological plane, they develop what Stoic researchers call intrinsic anchoring, the ability to derive stability from internal values rather than external approval. This shift is subtle but life-changing. Suddenly, the opinions that once disturbed us lose their power. Criticism no longer collapses our identity. Praise no longer inflates our ego. We start to see both for what they are, temporary noises, neither important nor dangerous. The greatest philosophers understood this. Marcus Aurelius wrote, almost in weary frustration, "Ambition means tying your happiness to what others say or do." And he followed it with a warning that echoes through centuries. Sanity means tying it to your own actions. This is the mindset of someone operating on a higher level, someone who judges themselves not by recognition, but by alignment. Am I living according to my principles? Am I mastering my emotions? Am I building something that will outlast me? When we think this way, something incredible happens. We begin to detach from outcomes. We stop chasing the spotlight. We stop bargaining our authenticity for approval. We stop letting the world decide whether we are enough. And in this detachment, we discover something the crowd never will: the peace of self-sufficiency. This peace is not arrogance, it is not coldness, it is not isolation, it is liberation. A person operating on a higher level understands that the world can take anything from him: money, reputation, comfort, but it cannot take the integrity he builds within himself. So he builds slowly, quietly, relentlessly, and when recognition arrives, which it often does, it no longer changes him, because it no longer defines him. This is the third sign, and perhaps the rarest. You live as if the world cannot reward you and cannot destroy you either. You become untouchable, not by force, but by inner independence, not by pride, but by principle, not by demanding recognition, but by outgrowing the need for it. Point 3. You respond, you don't react. One of the clearest signs that a person is operating on a higher psychological level is this: their emotions no longer control the direction of their actions. They may feel pressure, irritation, injustice, temptation, or chaos, but they do not react impulsively. They respond intentionally. This difference is subtle to the untrained eye, but to those who have walked through enough storms, it is everything. Most people react. They explode when they're frustrated. They defend themselves the second they feel attacked. They seek revenge when someone disrespects them. They respond to life like a raw nerve, overstimulated, unguarded, and easily manipulated. But those who have cultivated inner discipline, the ones who have suffered, studied, reflected, and risen, begin to see the world differently. We begin to understand that our power is not revealed in how loudly we fight, but in how calmly we choose. The Stoic philosopher Seneca warned, "A great mind becomes great not by chance, but by mastery over itself." And this mastery does not appear magically. It is trained in silence, shaped by hardship, and strengthened each time we choose restraint over destruction. When someone operates at a higher level, their mind develops what researchers call emotional distance, a skill that allows them to observe a feeling without acting on it. They step into the role of witness rather than servant. They stand above the chaos instead of drowning in it. This creates a kind of mental altitude, the ability to see beyond the immediate moment and into the long-term consequences of every move. This is why people on a higher level seem unbothered. It's not that life spares them. It's not that others respect them more. It's not that they are numb or cold. It's that they refuse to give their power to temporary emotions. Imagine someone insults you. Most people react. They rush to defend their ego. But someone operating at a higher level steps back internally and asks, "Is this worth my energy?" More often than not, the answer is no. Imagine someone tries to provoke you. Most people react. They fall into the trap. But someone on a higher level recognizes manipulation and quietly walks around it. Imagine life throws you an unexpected failure. Most people panic or collapse, but someone who has trained their mind pauses, breathes, and remembers that loss is part of the path, not the end of it. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." And that single realization becomes the foundation of a higher level life. Because once you understand that your mind is yours to command, you stop allowing the world to dictate your emotional state. You stop giving people the keys to your peace. You stop allowing situations to hijack your stability. You stop reacting to everything that demands a reaction. Instead, you choose, with intention, with clarity, with a sense of calm that confuses those who still live in chaos. And here's the part most people overlook. Responding instead of reacting does not make you passive, it makes you powerful. The man who controls himself cannot be controlled by others. The man who owns his reactions cannot be manipulated. The man who moves with intention cannot be provoked into foolishness. This is why those who operate at a higher level appear mysterious, composed, intimidating even. Their silence is not emptiness, it is calculation. Their calmness is not weakness, it is discipline. Their lack of reaction is not indifference, it is sovereignty. You know you've ascended to a higher level when your first instinct is no longer to fight, but to understand. Not to retaliate, but to evaluate. Not to mirror chaos, but to remain unchanged by it. You respond, you don't react. And in that single choice, you rise above the world that once swallowed you whole. Point 4. You outgrow the noise others still live in. Another sign that you're operating on a higher level is this. You no longer seek comfort in the noise that distracts everyone else. The world thrives on noise, arguments, drama, pointless opinions, shallow validation, emotional chaos. But those who rise above it are the ones who learn early that noise is the enemy of clarity. When you begin to operate at a higher psychological level, you develop a strange internal shift. Places that once entertained you now drain you. People who once impressed you now seem lost. Conversations that once felt important now feel hollow. You begin to sense the difference between stimulation and wisdom, and you choose the latter every time. Epictetus wrote, "If you wish to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." Why? Because when you outgrow the noise of the world, you inevitably disconnect from the people who still worship it. They will misunderstand you. They will assume you're distant, arrogant, antisocial, or strange. But what they cannot see is that you